everybody. My name is Annie, and I want to talk to you today about all the books I have read so far in 2025. I have had a beautiful, wonderful reading year so far. For the last couple of years, I haven't read as much as I wanted to, so I'm very, very excited about being able to have such a good reading year this far. I have read 21 books as of the end of April, and I want to talk to you about them because I'm super excited. Okay, so let's start with January. In January, in December, I started re-listening to the Throne of Glass series by Sarah J. Maas. Sarah J. Maas is my comfort author. If I feel down, if I feel depressed, if I feel overwhelmed, if my life is going a little bit hectic, that is the author that I go back to just calm myself down and kind of escape a little bit. So I have reread her Throne of Glass series and A Poem from a Rosa series multiple times. And in December last year, I was doing that. So the first book that I read or that I reread in January was Kingdom of Ash. By the way, if you see me looking over this way, it's because I have all my notes there. It was Kingdom of Ash. It's the last book of a series, so obviously I'm not going to go into the plot of what it is because I don't want to spoil anything for anybody that hasn't read it yet. But it's an amazing series. I totally recommend it for anybody that likes fantasy and that like romance and that like intrigue and political intrigue. And it has so many tropes that are chef kiss. So definitely recommend. The second book that I read in January was Studying Drowning by Ava Reed. I'm sorry if I mispronounce any numbers. My AC just went on, so I apologize if there's extra noise. A Study in Drowning. Beautiful copy of the book. The edges are so pretty. And I do have to say that even though I've heard wonderful things about this book, the main reason why I got it was because it's so pretty. It was definitely, the cover by was what pushed me to get it. Um, this book was beautifully written. And one of the things that I appreciate about an author is when they make me feel things, whether they're positive or negative things. For example, this book, when it was describing the world that they were in, had me like disgusted. It's such a good thing because it was described so beautiful. I can put myself into the story, into the setting of where everything was taking place. So I enjoyed that very much about this book and the writing of Ava Reed. The story is about maybe a little bit. So Effie is a college student. She actually wants to go into the College of Literature, but there's no women allowed into that college, so she goes into the College of Architecture. Um, she is a fan of this author, and she has read all his work, has followed his life, and she gets the opportunity to design the house for him. He passed away, so this is his son that wants to uh, kind of revamp, if, for lack of a better word, reconstruct the mansion that his family was living at and this author was living at. And she gets assigned that task. Obviously, it progresses from there. And it was, even though it was beautifully written, I was so disappointed by this book towards the end. The climax of the book was so underwhelming because it was building so much throughout the entire story that towards the end I was just disappointed. I'm so sorry to say that because I was really enjoying it throughout until we got to that point, and then I couldn't connect anymore to the story. Like I know that there is another book coming out. I have no interest in reading that. Um, but I still read it and it was still enjoyable. Oh, and then we went into the world of Rebecca Yaddle. This was a reread for me. I read it last year, and together with Iron Flint, the second book of the series so far. And all of that was in my own kind of preparation for Onyx Storm that was coming out at the end of January. So, Fourth Wind, it is a fantasy world where we see the life of Violet. She is a 20-year-old Violet Thorndale. I'm reading a little bit of the synopsis. She was supposed to enter into the scribe quadrant, and she's basically been training her entire life to go into the scribe quadrant. Her father was a scribe. Her mother is a general. And her entire life, she has to deal with weaknesses compared to her other siblings, where she suffered from chronic pain, her her joints are not strong enough, so she has always had multiple injuries growing up. So throughout her entire life and childhood, she thought she was going to go into the scribe order. So she's been training for that and for the exams that entails from the beginning. However, her mother wants her to go into the writer's quadrant, and that is where they get to write dragons. Dragons are such a big part of this story, and I love that. That's one of my favorite parts of the story. So she goes in there. Obviously, there's going to be a lot of issues. One, because she has had no training for it. Second, well, she is physically weaker than the people going in there. So the trials for her are going to be much, much harder. And I love the fact that the Rebecca Anderson uses somebody that is physically weaker to prove that perseverance and the ability to find other ways to achieve the same task can be done. So I love that. That's one of the things that I love about fantasy in general, that it helps me explore different perspectives of different people and how to achieve different things. So I like that. So yes, she go into the work hall, or she goes into the writer's quarter, and there's an inherited enemy of hers there. So I don't want to go into much detail because I'm not sure what's a spoiler or not, but there's somebody there that is definitely looking out to maybe harm her or have, whether he's looking out for it or not, he does have all the reasons behind or the possible excuses behind to be horrible to her. And so that's another layer of what's going to happen, right? Once you get in there, besides just her limitations. And obviously the stories develop from that. I definitely recommend to read the story. I enjoy it very, very much. And it just gets progressively better, in my opinion, as the books go on. The second book of the series is Iron Flame. I love the covers, they're so pretty. Iron Flame is the second book, the thick one. There's a lot of information here. Um, a lot of world building. We get a lot more in depth into the characters and their stories, and not only the main characters, but the secondary characters as well. And that's, it you see them grow, like the friendships grow, and their interpersonal connections of the other characters. And then we have Onyx Storm. All I can tell you about Onyx Storm is that from the moment I started reading, like from chapter 1, I had like mini panic attacks throughout the story. Like my heart was racing the entire time. I would tell my husband, I'm like, I feel like I'm running a marathon and I'm just sitting in bed reading. It's I love when authors do that. And that to me was this book, just a constant like, what's going on? What's going on? What's going on? It's a lot of information, a lot of. I want to reread it, but I finished reading it, and I wanted to start rereading it again immediately, and I was like, no, I'm gonna give myself some time. I need to like calm down. My adrenaline is too high at this point to just go through all of that once again. So I have put it away. I want to read it again. Like I want to give myself like more months before I read it again. Um, because there's so much information. I want to make some annotations. I feel like I need to take this book and read it as if it was a textbook. Like I'm going back to college, I'm going back to school, and then I'm like highlighting important parts that now I know will be of importance later on in understanding the story. That's what I feel that I need to do with this book. Okay, so yeah, basically this book I'm definitely going to be reading maybe later on in the year. But yeah, it's a wonderful story. However, Onyx Story left me in a huge slump. I was like, if I read another fantasy or another fantasy romance, I'm not going to like it because this just like I only want to be in this world. I only want to think about this world. So like I need to read something totally outside of my comfort, like totally non-related. So I don't lose the thing that I have that I've been reading so much, but at the same time, um, I'm not going to like find it lacking. I am a mood reader, so I know that I'm going to enjoy or not any books depending on how I'm feeling at the moment. So I didn't want to do a disservice to any other story or any other book just because I was in a slum because I wanted to be, in Onyx Storm again. So then I decided to try contemporary romance. At this point, I found out, and I'm sorry, I should have known this better, but I found out that Rebecca Llanos, the author of Fourth Wing series or the Empyrean series, she writes romance, contemporary romance as well. So I was like, you know what? I love her writing in fantasy. Let me try it. See if I like her writing in contemporary as well. I should have done my research better. I decided to pick The Last Letter by Rebecca Chatton. That book, I listened to it in an audio. I was sobbing, like I was crying so intensely with that book. My parents were here and they're like, "Are you okay? My husband is freaking out." And the entire time I'm like, "But I love this story. This is so good." Meanwhile, I'm sobbing my eyes out. And once again, I love when an author can make me feel intense emotions. Whether positive, negative, happy, sad, doesn't matter. If you with your writing and me reading pages, words in a page can have an emotional reaction, that to me is an automatic 5-star read. And that's what happened with The Last Letter. Um, it's a beautiful story, and I think going into without knowing too much about it is better than if you have a kind of an idea of what's going on. So I won't tell you much, but it's a sister has a brother in the military and she starts writing to his letters to his brother's friend that's also in the military. So there's the formal connection, but it's all in letters. It's a beautiful story. I would definitely recommend the story 100% of the time to anybody that wants to read it. Just be prepared that it is an emotional story. So have your Kleenex to you, have your comfy blanket, have some type of emotional support nearby because you will need it. But it is a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful story. And uh, actually, so that was in February. So we moved into the February book. I finished reading Onyx Storm in February. Then I read The Last Letter. And then I was still slumped. I was like, what do I do with my life? Now I only want to read Rebecca Yano's book. So I went into my comfort zone again. I needed some happy thoughts. And I knew the one series that would not let me down, and I would never think it would never be tainted by any other books. Is A Court of Thorns and Roses. So this is definitely a reread, or in this case, I listened to the audiobook. Um, I forgot how many times I have reread it. So I can't even tell you if this was the third or fourth time. It's I believe it's way more than that. Um, so I in February I listened to A Corn of Thorns and Roses, A Court of Mist and Fury, A Court of Winds and Ruins, and A Court of Frost and Scarlet. This book again, Sarah J. Maas, the Queen. It's very good series. It's not finished. We're all hoping and praying that uh, it will soon, but or maybe not. I don't know if I'm hoping and praying that it doesn't end and I can continue living in the story, even if I have to wait years and years and years for the next book. We do have another book coming up. Okay, so this series is about a human girl that crosses into the realm of the fae. This world is divided by a magical wall that divides the fae world and the human world. And through circumstances you will learn in the first book, she is forced to cross into the fae world, and that's where the fun starts. Uh, the first book, again, I think that the story is so well known and so talked about. I don't want to give too many details, and at the same time, I think that when I read it, all I knew was human girl, Fae world. That was all I knew, and that was how I got to enjoy the story by discovering things along the way. So I think that I'll leave it at that, but I would definitely recommend it. For me, even the first book, it I recommended this series to my mom, and I compared the first book as a preview to the movie because that's what I felt that it was to me. But even the first book, I enjoyed while I was reading it, and then the whole world opened up, and um, the rest of the books are it just progressively gets better and better and better. My mom is actually reading it right now, so I don't want to give her any spoilers on the first book. It's cute when she tells me she likes Hamlet, and I'll just leave it at that. Okay. Okay, and then we started March. March is, by the way, March is my birthday month, so I love March. I love spring. I love everything that comes with it. And I love the fact that I read so many books in March, and especially because I got to discover new genres in March, which I'm very, very excited about that. But anyways, we started with the last. So it started March reading the last book of the corn and the court. Okay, I don't want to say court. The court and roses series, and this is the court of silver flame. I love this book. I love Nesta. I know she's a fun character, but she is my favorite. That's all I have to say. Nesta is amazing. Cassian is amazing. I love their relationship. I loved everything about it. So my favorite book of the series, 100%. And then I read. I went back to our Miss Rebecca Adams, and I read In the Light of the Event. This is a beautiful book as well, and it's very emotional. And I don't know if all her books, and I do plan to read all her backlist. I don't know if all her contemporary books involve some type of military type of background. I know her husband was in the military, so it makes sense. You write what you know. And I loved it. I enjoyed it very, very much. I'm sorry if you noticed a little bit of change in camera. I had to, I ran out of space, so I had to like do some finagling to get back here. But as I was finishing reading the synopsis of this book, or I'm just gonna read you the synopsis of this book. It's short, and I think it will give you a better idea of what the book is about. It says, when Izzy Astor gets on a plane to go home, she isn't expecting much. It's the usual holiday travel experience, busy, crowded, stressful. When she spots her seatmate, who is anything but ordinary, Nate Fallon sports dark hair, blue eyes, and a delicious rugged charm that Easy can resist. Their connection is undeniable. Easy never believed in destiny before, but she does now. Just 90 seconds after takeoff, their plane goes down in the Missouri River. Their lives changes. They change. Nate goes on to a career in the military while Izzy finds her way into politics. Despite a few chance encounters over the year, the timing never feels right. Then comes a high-stake reunion in Afghanistan where Nate is tasked with protecting Izzy's life. He'll do anything to keep her safe and everything to win her heart. It's a beautiful story. I definitely recommend it 100%. And then after I finished reading that book, I went into a little bit of exploration. I decided to continue reading some contemporary. I was in the mood for some contemporary romances, so I went a little bit further and decided to try out some dark romances. And I listened to so many different videos that would recommend where to start if you were kind of new to the genre. So they always suggest either Butcher and Blackbird or Lights Out, and I went with Lights Out. I love that book. I listened to it first of all. The audio is amazing, 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 amazing. I would totally recommend to listen to the audio. You can even listen to the audio if you're reading the book. That's fine, but it's beautifully done. And it was very funny, very very funny, very spicy. It just had everything. I enjoyed it very very much. It was exactly what I needed. Um, the romance is between a nurse and his. I wanted to say his or her stalker, but I think she's stalking first. So it's beautifully done, and I definitely recommend. That got me into darker kind of mood. So I read Haunting Adeline and Haunting Adeline. In my mind, I'm pronouncing those two words equally, but they're two different books. It's book 1 and 2 of the Cat and Mouse Duet by H.C. Carlton. And wow, those books were intense. So these two books are obviously very dark, not only in how their relationship or the romance develops, but also the themes that are talked about in the book itself. So they talk a lot about human trafficking, and that's obviously a very important topic that's not talked about on a contemporary romance. So they that is a basis for the story as well. Mouse Duet, I started reading Anna Hong. I read Twisted Love and Twisted Games in the month of March. They're both phenomenal books. It's a contemporary romance. And then in April, I read Twisted Hate and Twisted Life. I read all four in my new Kindle. I'm very excited. I got this for myself in March and for my birthday, and I have not been able to put it down. Those four books I read, I would say within 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks. Now they're very small, but I literally couldn't put them down. They're very entertaining. It's a contemporary romance where we follow, so all the books you can read separately, even though they are interconnected, meaning that you would, in one book, you would see the on this story you would have mention of the other people on the other books lives, but you can still read them separately. I like to read in the way that the author brought it, like in the order that they came out. So I read them in order, and I'm very glad, because otherwise, let's say you read the last book, Twisted Lies, at first you will get spoiled for who the couples are for the other books. So I like to read them in order. I enjoyed them very, very much, and I read them super fast. And I can't wait to continue reading Anna Hong. I think she makes the book, the story grips you, so you just want to know what's going on, and you get so invested in this character. So I really enjoyed that, and I want to continue reading her other series as well. And then after Twisted Lies in April, I read The Spark of the Everflame. Um, this is this beautiful book. I have issues with this book, so I say wonderful, wonderful in a bit of a sarcastic way. So the story, I like the writing. I don't like the female main character. I I'm having such a hard time connecting with her. Um, so basically, I want to read you a little bit of the synopsis. I think that's going to make more sense so you maybe can understand what it is about. It says, in a mortal world, colonized by the gods and ruled by the descendants, their cruel magic-wielding offspring, Diane Bellator, yearns to escape the insular life of her poor village. Her mother's sudden disappearance and the discovery of dangerous secrets about her past offer Diane an unexpected opportunity to enter the dark world of the descendants royalty and the descendant royalty and unlock the web of mysteries her mother left behind. With the dying king's handsome, enigmatic heir watching her every move and a ruthless rebel alliance recruiting her to join the growing civil war, Diane will have to navigate the unwritten rules of love, power, and politics in order to save her family and all mortal kind. So it has a little bit of everything that I like, and I enjoy that. So it has political intrigue. It has the human girl with the immortal, you know, guy or male character, and it has intrigue. It has a little bit of everything, and I like that. I like that so far. The way that it's written is very beautiful. And very descriptive, so it puts me into the story. I like that as also. I just don't like DM so far. This is a girl that she has been trained as a healer by her mother since she could crawl, basically, and her mother has always kept her away from the descendants, right? The descendants are the immortal royals or the ruling class. And there is a very distinct separation of the mortals being poor and struggling, and then the immortals having access to everything and all the resources, etc. DM's mother, our female main character, has always kept her away from that world, the descendants world, and even her mother, while she was treating the descendant king, the royal family, as a healer, she kept DM separated. Now, mom disappeared, and this is not a spoiler. It's in the synopsis, and you find out very shortly after you start the book. Mom disappears, and DM has to. It's a little bit thrown, and a little bit she pushes herself into that world just to find out what's going on with mom. And then the story begins. I like Luther. Luther is the main male character from the descendant side of the story, and he's, I don't want to say typical, but it's the angry, grumpy, all powerful, shadow wielding, in his case, shadow and light wielder, that we, know and love in a lot of fantasies. So I like him for that. It's okay that he is just another shadow daddy, I guess. She, on the other hand, she makes me mad. And that's another reason why I'm actually enjoying the book. And yes, it's counterproductive, but it's the truth. She is in deep denial of the things that she does. And I can't get too much into detail because it will spoil the book for you. But all I can say is that I'm not liking her. I'm not liking her at all. And but it has the story, it's good enough that it makes me want to continue reading her, even though I'm like literally rolling my eyes every time she talks. Because what are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing? But actually just started reading the second book, but that's a May reread, or a May wrap up, not reread, but that's a story for another time. And yeah, so after this book, because I didn't like the main female character, I didn't want to jump right into the second book because I'm like, I need a break from her because I don't want to not enjoy the rest of the story just because I don't like her. So I was like, I'm going to step away for a minute, give her some time, let me calm down. I was still in the fantasy mood, but I only wanted to read one book before jumping back into the Everflame world. So I picked up Quicksilver, this this masterpiece right here. This was everything I wanted to read in a fantasy book. This was so good. So good. So good. So good writing, good story, good characters, good development, good everything. And because I knew there was only one book out, I was like, okay, there's no, I can just read that one. And I was so happy. So happy. I should have picked it up way sooner, but I'm glad I did now. And this book talks about, it's again, we have, I guess, one of my favorite trope of all the different fantasy books. Human girl, fae, immortal, guy. So I'm going to read you the synopsis for this because I think it's short and it will be able to give you a better idea of what the book is about, because obviously I have a very hard time describing this other than just telling you that I love this book. So it says, it's a 24-year-old Ceres Fane is good at keeping secrets. No one knows about the strange power she possesses or the fact that she has been picking pockets and stealing from the Undying Queen reservoirs for as long as she can remember. In the land of the unforgiving desert, there isn't much of a girl wouldn't do for a glass of water, but sooner or later, every secret comes out. When Cyrus comes face to face with death himself, she inadvertently reopens a gateway between realms and is transported to a land of ice and snow. The Fae have always been the stuff of myth, of legend, of nightmares, but it turns out they're real, and Cyrus has landed right in the middle of a century-long conflict that might just get her killed. The first of her kind to treat the frozen mountains of Iberia in over 1,000 years, Diaries mistakenly finds herself to Kingfisher, a handsome Fey warrior who has secrets and nefarious agendas of his own. He will use her alchemist magic to protect his people, no matter what it costs him or her. It's so good. So basically, we have a girl, and it's very interesting because she is the human girl that lives in a world that has two suns, and it's a desert. There's no night, there's no rain, or rain is very very rare. So water is like the main source of need at all points. Like you wake up thinking, what am I going to drink? How am I going to get water? I need to conserve water. Like that is the driving need for this entire world. And obviously, we also have the divide between, the poor people that don't have access to it and needs to steal it. She's one of them. She's in the poorest of the poor. And then we have the higher class that has access to it all. And the queen is the one that rules over everybody, obviously, and gives obviously more to the elite, let's say, than the rest of them. And then she gets into trouble. She gets into trouble, and things happen. She goes into. She is from the beginning. From the beginning of this book, like on the first chapter, we see that she is human, but there is something else because she is able to control metals, and she works at a forge. And from the very beginning, we see she doesn't know what it is that she does. She only knows that I don't know, she grabs something of metal that starts trembling and moving and doing things that is not a normal human kind of behavior, right? So she knows that there is something else, but she doesn't dwell too deep into it because there's nothing she can do about it. And if the elite and the queen on her guards finds out about it, obviously that's not good for her. So she knows it's human, but she knows that there is something else, right? Now, the one thing that I love about this female character is that she is angry, she's outspoken, she tells it as she sees it. She doesn't let neither the humans of her world nor when she goes into the Fae world, the Fae men there or males there, she doesn't let them get away with it. And I love that. Like, she's like, I know it doesn't matter the situation, she's going to speak her mind. She's going to ask the questions that she needs to know the answer to. And I like that. She is assertive. I like that. And she's confused. And I also like that. One of the things that this book made me want to love it even more is that at the beginning, I kept like going back and rereading certain parts because the character was so confused and I, as a reader, didn't know what was going on. I'm like, okay, but they're mentioning things or names or events that I don't. Did they mention it before? Am I missing something? Did I not understand where this was coming from? Like, why don't I know what they're talking about? But the character didn't know what they were talking about. And in the book, as it went on, it would explain, like, oh, the reader doesn't know because the character doesn't know. So it purposely keeps you confused until the story develops. I don't know if I'm explaining this properly, but not in every book. Sometimes the reader knows more than the characters themselves because the reader has been seeing it from different perspective or has been given more information that the character has, right? Not in this. And I like that. Once I realized that the reader is as confused as the main female character. And I loved it because it keeps you continuously wanting to know what's going on. Just as she is, you are experiencing her confusion, her feelings, her desperation in a way. And I enjoy that very, very much. This is another book that is one of the first books that I did this where I would listen to the audio and read it the first time. That's another experience. That is quite something. First of all, the audiobook for this is amazing. It's amazing. The two narrators, both the female and male, did such an amazing job. And listening to them in my ears while I'm physically reading this, so there is no other way of getting distracted by the story, was beautiful. It truly was amazing. And I was so happy that I picked up this book. I definitely recommend it. To me, it's automatic 5 stars. If you have noticed, I don't rate books. I will either tell them whether I'm enjoying them or not because that's just what I do. But I would definitely recommend this book. And that was the last book that I read in April. And that brings me to a conclusion of this video. Thank you so much for staying here until the very end and listening to me jab about all these books. But I have had a wonderful time reading the stories and getting to know new authors and visiting familiar ones. And I have enjoyed all of it. At the end of the story, I do believe that stories are what make the human experience better, more enjoyable. So I'm glad that I was able to visit so many of them over this last 4 months. I hope that you enjoyed this video and that you can either subscribe if you like or leave a comment on the bottom. I will definitely be replying to all of them. So let me know if you are wanting to pick up any of this book, if you have read them, if you have any recommendations for future books that I might enjoy based on what I've talked about in these books. Thank you so much. See you in the comments, and until next time.